Hello and welcome to Former Employers of Lawrence and Scots. This is Season 3, Episode 6, and today I have Richard Bethell.
That's me.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Excellent, good to hear. When did you start and when did you finish? That's my first question to most people.
Yeah, I started in 1964, August I believe, and finished in October 1981. Second wave of redundancies with Mr. Snipe.
Mr.
Snipe.
Oh, I'm not sure I know that name.
Who was he?
Was he Snipe by name and Snipe by name?
Yeah, he certainly was, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pork pie hat and a 3/4 length Mac and a cigar. That was him.
Oh, right. I might have seen a picture of him actually, and somewhere.
Yeah.
So when you started, was that an apprenticeship?
Yes, yeah. I left school at 15. I went to Langley Senior and left there. I didn't get on very well there. Not really much of an academic, I'm afraid.
Cheeky grin on your face.
Certainly with figures and that sort of thing in the history. But anyway, I started at Scots in, I think it was August. I was taken on by Ted Yields and Austin Stannard, who, when I went for the interview, looked at my school reports very sympathetically. I thought I probably wouldn't get the job. But must try harder, I think most of the comments said. But anyway, they took me on, and I started there. Went up the apprentice school with Bernard Fuller in charge. Donnie Stevens, I think, was in charge of the machine shop side of it. Frank Doggett was in charge of the winding part of it, and Bernard was in charge of obviously the fitting side of it, and the whole issue. Was up there for a year, made a few friends up there. One or two of them dropped out in between, decided that it wasn't for them, and engineering I think wasn't for them. One chap called Derek Brighton came from Brighton's garage of Long Stratton, but that didn't suit him. His dad ran that at the time. Okay. And he ended up actually, I think, being a bank manager or something, so he did well.
Complete contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he packed up after about 6 or 8 months, I believe.
Yeah.
But anyway, I stayed there for a year, and then I went down. My first assignment in the factory was with the service department, and that was run. The foreman of that was Jeff Savoury, who everybody in the factory called him Ducks Savoury, Savoury Ducks.
Ah, yes.
And everybody called him.
I haven't heard of
Ducks.
his name, but yeah.
He was a good chap. He'd shout at you and call you a few names, but he was fair really, and a good boss, a bit like Jimmy Doe in a way. He was like that, a bit abrupt and call a spade, but he was all right at the end of the day. I had 6 months there under a chap who worked in there called Dick Tarrington. Another man was Michael Mann, who I believe I've seen at a few of the reunions. Yeah. He was there, and one or two others. Where did I move on to from there? I just have to look for the order, I think.
We reeled the food names off there, which is great.
One on Winch Bay. I went into Winch Bay for 6 months with Pat Moore, under Pat Moore, who was a little Irishman who smoked a pipe. And he was brilliant. He knew winches inside out. He used to do outwork on the ships as they were moving some of the time when they had breakdowns.
Was Scott's big for winches back in the day?
Oh yeah, I spent a lot of time in there with him assembling them.
We've got those winch towers that obviously not used
when
now.
they used to test them, under the apprentice school steps.
Have you been up the towers?
Never been up there. Yeah. No, but they used to clean up the winch drums in there and test the winches at the same time. Yeah.
Just pause you there.
Stop me there.
Just for a sec.
Have we run out of time?
No. Just part of me thought, did I press record? I'll cut this bit out. So yeah,
fine.
Yeah. Just want to make sure. Good.
I went to service. I went up to sub-assembly, which in those days was upstairs, the other end of the apprentice school, actually, the other half of the floor, with a chap who worked with Diggy Pryor, who was a gymnast at the time. In a
gymnast.
Yeah, he was a fantastic gymnast for Norfolk. Alan Willard, I don't know whether you've heard his name. He was up there. Harry Tipple.
Yeah, Harry Tipple.
Subsequently, I think ended up in the tool room.
Yeah.
And one or two others. Then I had where did I go from there?
Well, you got written down. I like this written down.
Yeah, I've got to get it in the right order.
Yeah,
If I
yeah.
can, I went to the slab, down on the Market Out slab.
Yeah.
Had 6 months in there with Russell Curzon, Derek Easter, all names from the past. Derek Easter's father worked in the dispatch department, I believe.
Yeah.
Who else? Ronnie Day.
Bob Pole. Is Bob Pole there? Pole?
No, that don't ring a bell. Robbo, a bloke we used to call Robbo Roberts, but I can't remember his first name, but we called him, he was on there as well. But I had 6 months in there. And then I went on to Boys Lays with John Neville, the late John Neville, he's passed away. And then the Millers, which I was on there, which is next door to Boys Lays, and I must have been with next door to Alan Cunningham, because he wasn't apprentice, he was a machinist, but
Yeah.
I was with in there for a while, and then I went in a boiler house under Gordon Carman.
Was the boiler house under the maintenance then?
Yeah, well, they had two separate foremen. Gordon Carman was the foreman. Dennis Buck was the fitter, and I believe young Billy Parks, because his dad was the electrician foreman. He was in there, I think, with us. I don't think he was in the maintenance. I think he worked in there.
Yeah.
Had a few months in there, and then Austin Stannard and Bernard Fuller came after me just before I went there and said to me that they thought I'd be a good candidate to go into the maintenance gang. That'd suit me.
All right, yeah.
And he said, well, in those days, everybody who came out at that time, I think, if I remember rightly, wanted to get in the maintenance bay if they could.
Why was that number one sort of position for people?
Everybody fancied going in there, I think, because it had a very,
They move around a lot.
Yeah, all over doing roofs and floors and moving machines and repairing them.
Not stuck on one
Not
machine.
doing one thing repetition.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it when they said that. And he said, that'll suit you. And he said, what we'll do, we'll put you in there. Because in those days, a lot of the time, if you finished up in a place, you stayed there, or they said, we don't need you and you leave.
Right.
So he said, we'll put you in there a few months before you come out of your time, and then hopefully they'll want you, you know, and you'll stay there. And that's what happened. I was always very grateful to Bernard for that. So I stayed in the maintenance initially it was Frank Eaglin, who everybody in the factory, he was just known as Christmas.
Okay.
Christmas was his nickname, and the theory that it was supposedly they named him that because he came in one day on Christmas Day to check the factory out.
And that stuck.
Yeah, so
Got
a
to
lot
be
of
careful
people
what
I
you
think
do,
hardly
haven't
knew
you?
his name. They just knew him as Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I stayed in there, and then a couple of years, 18 months after that, we used to do the cranes. Occasionally, every 2 weeks, I think, we had to go over the other end of Bay 30 and clean all the joists and rails and rafters and everything over the AGR setup that was in the end there.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's like that now, but they used to do all the testing down the under. And they couldn't close it off because of the cranes. So it had to be kept clean. So every 2 weeks, we used to spend all weekend on overtime, which we all enjoyed, climbing up and about, dusted everything and hoovering everything.
I think everyone's done a bit of overtime in their time.
Yeah, where we could, I think we did. And then a chap who worked in the garage on maintenance, car maintenance or vehicle maintenance, he did a few odds and ends up there. He passed away, Nobby Clark, and he was affiliated to the maintenance gang. And I applied for the job, and because I was already in maintenance, I suppose, and by that time I'd got a little bit of a reputation or following for doing cars, because I used to repair my own car, and by that time I'd been repairing a few other people's and servicing a few other people's cars at work. Not at work, doing it at work, but people from work.
So company cars?
No,
sorry, but...
No, I did private work.
Yeah.
And
that's where
I
you
got
the
the job because
Yeah.
a lot of them, like Bernard Fuller, I reconditioned the engine in his car. Well, they knew that I could work on cars. I was in the maintenance,
You then went
so they gave me the job.
So the company to do the company
So
cars.
then I.
So how many
well-
sort of company cars were
Well,
there?
we increased it. I mean, they didn't used to look after all the managers' cars and the directors' cars. It was just a few vans and the bits and pieces and anything that, you know, they could do on the spot, or not
Oh,
we
the
could do
vans
on
were
it,
running
but
around.
not a great deal. But I said, well, really, I felt at the time I was twiddling my thumbs some of the time, and I said, why are we sending all the cars up to buses? Because most of them were Fords at the time, the cars. The managers' cars,
So
and the
they
fleet
were all
cars.
being serviced at buses.
Buses, and
Yeah.
you know, I said, why can't we do it? So
Yeah.
I started doing that, and in the end, we had about, I think the fleet was about 160 overall.
160 cars.
Yeah, but that was overall. You
Yeah,
know,
I know,
people
but
in Blantyre and Scotland and all
Oh, okay.
that. But that was the company
That still
cars.
still seems like a big number.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
had. I think I had on my files. I had about 80 or 90 of them.
Wow.
And we look, but of course, in those days, they were 2 years or 40,000, and they were sold. But then soon after that, it started to decline. They were keeping them for longer because they couldn't change them.
Yeah, yeah.
And over the years, towards the end, the lease company came in. They decided they'd lease them,
Yeah.
and they did all the maintenance and everything.
Yeah.
And consequently, they got down to 8 cars, and that was when I was made redundant in '81. But
81.
I was up there from like 70, 60, yeah, about 70, 71, I reckon I was in the garage until 81.
So where was the garage station?
It was right down the end of Bay 30, opposite as a building, at the end of the canteen and the
Okay,
winding
picture
store
that.
building.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
That was, it was a separate unit there,
Yeah.
but I suppose that's gone as well now.
Yeah, lots gone. So when that was down there, did you just stay down there then?
Yeah, I was in there
24/7,
all
so
the
to speak?
time.
Yeah.
Just servicing the vans. We had 2 or 3 vans that ran about from Thorpe Road to Sellers Road to Main Works, delivering stuff.
Did you have to do the
couple of-
Did you do the running around as well?
No. They had a couple of drivers doing that. Jack Haig was one.
they were
I think it was
drivers,
Jack
yeah.
Haig or Jack anyway. I just serviced them and repaired them.
Yeah.
I did have to. The service bay had to as well. The service department, which went out on outwork, and I did have to go once. I went up to one broke down at blew a head gasket up in Grangemouth, and it was going to cost a fortune to have it done. They got a quote, I think, while the boys are up there, and I ended up going up. I hired a pickup from Willhire and went up and picked it up and took one up there and brought one back. Brought the Duff one back.
You've
So-
got a train in your back garden.
Yeah, yeah, we like the trains. This is the only bungalow along here which you can see the station and see the trains.
I just sort of looked up and there's a train there.
We're train mad. Look, if you look at that picture,
Okay, yeah.
we've got one each.
So that's the train station.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the Lingwood station.
We're
yeah.
in Lingwood in case anyone wondered.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're in Lingwood.
Sorry, back to.
So where were we?
Yeah, sorry
I don't
about
know
that.
what I was saying now.
just caught me out.
Yeah, so
So did you tell me earlier that you had to chauffeur someone at some point?
yeah,
A couple
we
of times.
had a chauffeur or a part-time chauffeur. One of the chap who worked with me for a little while as a labourer, but he was more chauffeuring Snipe when he came towards the end.
okay.
We didn't really have a proper chauffeur, but I went to collect Snipe when he took over. When the first time he came down here, he flew into Norwich in his private jet with a couple of his henchmen,
Really?
and I used Billy McCrait's car. They said you better go and pick him up and take McCrait's car. So I took McCrait's Jaguar and went up to the airport and waited there and picked him up. He didn't say much. He just said hello, and I said here we go, and that was it. Brought him back, dropped him off. And I believe I remember rightly that he got rid of the young Wormel the same afternoon. I think he sacked him. I don't know why. He obviously
Blimey, he was
he
only
got
on sound
something-
5 minutes.
Oh yeah, so that put
Yeah.
the wind up everybody. He was sort of pretty dynamic that way. He wasn't going to hang about.
Yeah. You gotta
Um,
make his mark.
Yeah, but I had a good time up there. One of the times I had a problem with McRae's car. He rung me up one day and said. Because the other funny thing was, I had a Jaguar XJ6 exactly the same as theirs, about
okay.
Wormel's and his. And he said to me, I've got a problem, I think my petrol pump's packed up. He broke down and the RAC told him a petrol pump had packed up and he brought it back or something. So I said, well, that's all right, it doesn't have to go up to Mannington's, I can replace that. and there's two pumps in the boot for 2 tanks. So I got a pump and thought we could save the firm a bit of money and put this new pump in. There's several pipes in there that go all different directions, and off he went. That was it. Well, I left it with him, and obviously he went home that night. Next morning I got a phone call from him from his office. Could I go up and see him? And he said, he said, my e-cylinder broke down again last night on the way home. And what had happened was, I don't know how I did it into this day, but I piped it up wrong, and it pumped all the petrol out of one tank that it was switched on to into the other tank instead of. So when that tank ran out and it was all, the other one was full, the car packed up.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't. I thought I'm going to get the sack for this, but he didn't.
That's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
But,
so we just ended up putting it right. But the other thing I did, he called me one day for something, and I went up to his office upstairs, straight out of the garage, and stopped what I was doing, went straight up there, sat there talking to him, and he had a lovely sort of, I don't know, Axminster or whatever it was, high class, gold coloured carpet. And I said, right, okay, we're sorted, you know, thank you very much. And turned around, and when I turned around, there's these footprints to the black footprints to the door. I thought,
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I can't just walk, so I said, I'm sorry about this, sir, but don't worry about it. He said the cleaners will get that off. I thought, yeah, they'll be lucky. I never knew what happened.
Oil on there as well, is it? Oh,
so that was a couple of interesting sort of things that, you know, make sort of memories that come back.
Yeah.
But I don't know, apart from that, what else have we got? I've got a few things written down.
Go on.
You know, I mentioned we worked on the AGR. I always remember the number 49511-E.
Stuck in your head,
and they used to all over the factory. If you wanted a file, even if you weren't working on AGR, put it down at 49511. It must have cost the government a bloody fortune.
Yeah.
So, what else did we do? Oh, I said earlier that I used to service people's cars, which a lot of people watching this will know. Well, one day I took this chap's car, which will be nameless, and although I can't remember it anyway, but I took he had a little Allegro, and I took this and serviced it one night. I used to work at my mother's then, before I was married, and brought it back the next morning, as I used to do for everybody, and went and saw him, gave him the keys, and said, that'll be so much. And he didn't. Oh, right, he said, okay. So I thought, right, well, I won't push it, he'll come and see me later on. Off I went, back up again, never came. So about 4 o'clock I went to see him. He was working in Bay 30, and I said, you haven't come back to see me? And he said, no. He said, I ain't going to pay you. Well, I'd never had that before. And I said, oh, you're not going to pay me? No, he said. So I thought, well, I better think about this. So off I went. And by the time I'd walked from halfway along Bay 30 up to the garage, I'd got myself in a bit of a frenzy, which is not really like me.
No, I can't imagine.
And I thought, what am I going to do here? He's obviously not going to pay me. So I grabbed my oil tray, I grabbed all my tools that I needed, and I walked round to the main car park, which was
he found his
seen by the office block, and I flicked the bonnet open with a screwdriver because I'd got no key. I took the spark plugs out, I took the points out, I took the oil out, and I took the filter off, and I took the air cleaner out. And I thought, he's not going to have the bits that I've paid for. He'll have the labour if he don't pay me, but he ain't going to have the bits I've paid for. And I thought, how am I going to get seen and get the sack for doing this? But anyway, I did it all. Went back to the garage, put all the stuff away, and then I went and saw him. I said, you're not going to pay me? He said, no, I'm not going to bloody pay you. You ain't done it. He said, So I said, oh, well, I've taken all the bits off the car that I put on it. And he went absolutely bananas, and he said, you've broken into my car, I'll report you to the police. I said, I haven't broken into your car, you show me where I've broken into your car. Because I hadn't. I'd flicked the bonnet, no marks, nothing. Quarter of an hour, 20 minutes later, Geoffrey Hatch, who was the security manager then in those days, came up to see me. And he grinning at me. He says, been a bit of trouble. I just had a complaint about you and from this chap, you see. So I said, yeah. And he said, you taken all... I said, well, he wouldn't pay me for the job. So I've taken all the bits that belong to me, all the new bits that I bought. And he looked at me and he grinned. And he said, oh, okay, fair enough. And he went and never said any more about it. And one of the reasons that may have helped me was that actually I looked after his car.
Yes.
So he was sympathetic to me, I think, in a way. So, yeah, but that's about it, really. I mean, that's most of my my times there. There was several incidents, lots of things that happened. But yeah, it was all good. Everybody helped you out. It was a good. I think everybody had a good relationship amongst themselves, or most people.
Yeah, no, that's it. And you knew Spider and a few other people.
Yeah, I worked with Spider for a while.
Yeah.
Obviously Roger Townsend, people like that. I knew most of them. Tony Evidge, I knew well. And, you know, all the managers, Thorpe Road managers, Sallows Road, because I covered all three works. There was a picture came on, I think, recently, unless it was an old one that somebody had commented on, and it came back. Warwick Stanier and people like that. Trevor Wardley, all from the foundry, because Trevor had a company car. He had a 2-litre Mark 5 Cortina. We looked after that, or I did. Roger Mortimer, people like that. They had
what about, I guess you were in the motoring club as well?
Yes, yeah. I've still got my motoring club brass plaque with GMC on it. Yeah. I was in that with Tony Butcher, doing well.
Because I guess a lot of people at Scott's liked cars, you know. I know people who did power racing there and like old vintage cars and things, so...
Yeah, David Mockett.
That would have been a big club.
There's a chap called David Mockett. Have you heard of his name? He worked in the maintenance.
Yeah, I do recall his name.
He had a Morris 10-6 special, 6-cylinder special, that he was doing up at that time. In the
but
70s.
you're all helping each other, weren't you, really?
Yeah.
Apart from the guy who never paid you, but we won't mention him again. What's that shield you got there, I see?
Well, the shield is something that I acquired from Bernard just before, Bernard Fuller, that he had. I don't know where he got it from, but...
I know, what's that saying?
You read it and you tell me.
First aid efficiency? Is that first aid?
Yeah, first aid efficiency. But the interesting thing is, whoever engraved it spent Lawrence wrong.
I can see that, yeah.
It's got Lawrence Scott and it's LAW.
Oops.
But I don't know when the...
But yeah, we'll just show that. But yeah. What's the year on that? 42?
42.
Yeah. How did you come by it then?
I got that. Bernard Fuller gave me a few things that he'd accumulated over the years just before he died.
I can't read the names
a
really
few
well.
leaflets and bits.
I'll take a picture of that and put it up.
Yeah.
What else you got there?
There's too much stuff to show you really.
Yeah,
but a lot of stuff going. 1937.
Blimey.
On the occasion of his 75th birthday, and lots of photocopied information.
Well, I'll go through that and take some pictures and post it for people.
Have a read. Various early editions of magazine, I suppose.
Yeah.
Engineering bulletins. These are a bit later, I think.
Because back in the day, we were down
1961.
Down at King Street at one point, weren't we? As well.
But yeah, take them and have a look. There's a lot of interesting photographs in there.
Well,
some of them I've seen, so somebody must have one of them somewhere.
But to see rows and rows of manual lathes like that, wow. Yeah. I'll have a look for that. It's interesting. What you got there?
I had posted this up once, I believe, but I've got something here that I must admit I did. I suppose I stole it, really. Which is a bit annoying. I shouldn't say that on camera, should I? Might get the police after me. But it says, I've got Jimmy Fenn's Dynamo. Now, Jimmy Fenn was an electrician.
I have not seen this before, so well, did you post this?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, I did. Jimmy Fenn was one of the electricians under Billy Park. And he used to do absolutely fantastic caricatures.
Yeah.
And he did this and put it on a notice board. This is a bike with a dynamo and pedaling your bike.
Yeah.
When we had a power crisis, so he drew this and posted it up. And I think at one point, I stole it. But I've had this about 50 years. It says at the bottom of here, "Can you ride a bike?" He said yes. I says, hop on and keep going, he says. And that's one of Jimmy Fenn's drawings. Yeah. Which is absolutely, I think, is just fantastic. He was very clever.
Well, if you posted it, I should have seen it, but I'll put his name in the little search bar at the top, and that'll come up. But,
yeah. Well, if not, you can borrow it and do it again if you think it's of any interest.
But a lot of people would bike to work as well. I mean, I've seen pictures of bikes in the bike sheds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But the other thing I've got a picture of, which some people may have seen, is when I left Scott's. I was out of work for a few years. My children were about 5 and 6 or 5 and 7, 5, 6.5, and thought, what can I do to pass the time? And my brother and I, because he worked there as well, my brother worked up in Switchworks.
Oh, connection, yeah. Any other connections quickly?
Sorry?
Any other family connections quickly?
No,
just you and your
just
brother.
me and him.
Yeah.
And I think he left about the same time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we decided between us that we'd build a little Model T Ford for my children, who were, as I say, they were only 5 and 6.5 then, to use at steam rallies, because we used to go to steam rallies, same as Spider did.
Yeah.
And for them to drive. And my father, in his infinite wisdom, decided that he'd ring up the papers when we finished it.
Oh, that's you, isn't it?
And and that was what we did. That took us 5 years of spare time.
So this was in the evening news, yeah?
Yeah, evening news. I don't know what
and
the
this
date
is the Model T?
86.
Yeah, and this is the Model
and
T.
And that's a picture of the Model T, all made out of odds and ends.
Wow.
1936 invalid carriage motor that we scrounged off somebody.
Where's that now then?
To drive it. That's next door at my brother's.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. It's still about, is it?
Yeah.
Excellent.
He keeps it. So they had a lot of fun out of that, and that went to a lot of steam rallies. But that was what we did after. Wow. One of the things we did after he left.
Yeah. And obviously I've seen you at the reunions. You're going to keep going to them?
Yes, I should keep going to them. I enjoy them.
Yeah.
There's one or two things came back. A chap came up to me a couple of years ago and smiled at me, and I thought, well, he obviously knows me. I'm usually pretty good with faces and memories like that. And I thought, well, I said, who are you? You're smiling at me. You obviously know me, but I can't place you. He said, I was your apprentice at the garage for 6 months.
Yeah. And
I said, I can't even remember having an apprentice for 6 months.
So well, I've got a feeling in the next reunion, a lot of people are going to know you now, more so.
Yeah.
And we'll all have more to talk about, which is
great. Have you got a date for that yet?
I think it's normally in. Is it?
It's usually end of July, middle of July, about the 16th of July.
I've yet to sort that, but that will be posted as soon as I sort it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I should go with that if I can.
Yeah, that'd be good. And you're keeping well then?
I'm keeping well. Yeah.
You're keeping busy.
Yeah, always do quite a bit of model engineering and a bit of model making.
Yeah.
I've got a 1963 wooden speedboat that I had when I was at Lawrence Scott. I bought when I was at Lawrence Scott when I was about 19 or 20, and I used to take it to Scott's and then carry on a Saturday morning down to Griffin Lane and water ski down to Bramerton and that way. And I've still got the boat, and I've just spent the last few years tidying it up. I haven't had to restore it as such, just had to tidy it and make a new screen and bits and pieces.
Well, you keep busy then, that's good.
And one of the things I've done is made a model of it. I've always wanted to make a model of it.
Yeah.
So I decided I'd do that in lockdown.
Yeah.
And I built a couple of little steam engines, machined them up. I've got a little machine shop outside with a miller machine and a couple of lathes.
Excellent.
So there's always things to pass the time.
I can't wait to retire. That's crazy, I shouldn't say that.
Well, I always used to think, the same as you, I can't wait to retire, but I don't know what it is, but you don't seem to have a time you think you're going to have.
A lot of people say that. You're keeping all right?
Yeah, I'm keeping all right.
Yeah, keep yourself busy.
Yeah, always doing something.
And you're happy in retirement, which is great.
Certainly am. Yeah.
I'm going to see you at the next reunion.
Yes, I'll be there.
And
all going well. Fingers crossed, but I shall be there if I can get there.
Yeah, I've seen you at 1 or 2, so hopefully everyone's going to know you now when they see you and come up to you. Yeah, which is great. We'll call it a day. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate your time.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Cheers.
Appreciate.